Thanks for logging on to MyFoxHurricane.com. Well, we continue to watch an intensifying Hurricane Ian. Top winds right now, as of this recording, are at 80 miles an hour. It will continue to strengthen as we go through the day and into tonight. It's in that area. We have been talking about this for days, moving over some very warm water and that potential for that rapid intensification. And we are seeing that right now. But just an amazing looking view just from that scientific standpoint and from the satellite. You can see the developing inner core of this system right now. The center right here, you can actually see those overshooting tops of really strong storms right towards the middle, and then some of these bands with some just torrential rain wrapping around the center of this system, and it will continue to work its way to the northwest. So here is what we know right now. Obviously, we were talking about a very dangerous hurricane heading up the east coast or the eastern Gulf of Mexico. So at this point, you have got to know your evacuation zone. If you don't know that at this point, you need to know that immediately, where you're going to go if you're ordered to evacuate. And you have to know where and how you're going to get there. What we're looking at this point is a hurricane moving right up the west coast, just offshore. Now, little changes in this are certainly possible as we go through the next several days. We're not going to see any major changes at this point, or at least we're not anticipating that. So what you have to do at this point, you have to plan for the worst with this. And what we're looking at this point, between 5 to 10 inches of rain with this. We're going to see some maximums of up to 15 inches of rain and that storm surge of 5 to 8 feet along the coastline. Now, the other thing with this is it is going to be slowing down as it goes by. So we're not talking about a 6 or an 8 hour period of that rain and storm surge. We are talking about a couple of days. So this is a prolonged event. Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday as well. Things will start to settle down at that point. But hurricane hunters, they've been flying in this system just about nonstop. And as they made their pass a little bit earlier this morning, what they found was that pressure just continues to fall. Right now, sitting right around 980 millibars. So when you're seeing that decreasing pressure, that shows you the system just continues to intensify. Lower pressure, stronger winds. And then they made that secondary pass through there, just basically confirming all the data that they are getting out of this. And now they continue to make those passes through the storm, collecting more and more of that information that we take and we plug in to these computer models. So here's where we stand right now. Top winds are at 80 miles an hour. It's moving to the northwest at 13. Completely different storm than what we saw yesterday. Yesterday it was actually dealing with a little bit of dry air, but that is not an issue for this storm right now. Very warm waters. All the conditions are ideal, and it will continue to be that way as it works its way up into the Gulf of Mexico. So as you look at this track, there you see becoming a major hurricane by the time we're into tomorrow morning. And then notice as we go through the day on Wednesday, Tuesday, into Wednesday, into Thursday, notice how this really starts to slow down. Here we are Wednesday morning, and then by Wednesday evening, you can see how little it has really moved. And then by Wednesday night and into Thursday morning, it is just creeping along. And that is that period where we are really exposed to that west and southwesterly wind, causing that surge along the coastline. The heavy rain bands continuing to work their way through, and this is going to be our most vulnerable part. And it doesn't really matter at this point whether it's 10, 15 miles further to the west or over us. If it's over us, we're bringing more of those hurricane force winds on shore with this system. So really, you have to plan for the worst at this point. Now, we do have a hurricane watch. That is from Anclote River down to Inglewood. This will likely be upgraded to a hurricane warning later on today or this evening. It is a tropical storm watch as you head further to the south. Storm surge along the coastline from Anclote down the coastline. We're looking between about 5 to 8 feet as you head down towards Fort Myers, down towards Naples. That storm surge between about 4 to 7 feet. Now, computer models, well, they're continuing to get better consensus among the models, but still, you're seeing that spread. We still have some models indicating this may work its way on shore, and we still have some models a bit further to the west. So Will things change? Certainly. I'm sure we're going to see some changes, but we're only going to see at this point really minor changes. The thing is, those minor changes, they will have impacts on what we feel, but you can't bet on any of those right now. You basically have to expect the worst at this point. So you look at the European and the GFS, and basically that same idea. We're getting much better consensus among our two major computer models that we utilize, and basically sitting on top of each other. Here we are on Wednesday morning. I'll put my finger there and you can see how much we've moved in that period of time. Really not much. And then here we are Wednesday evening and into Thursday. And you see, we just continue to watch this storm creeping along the coastline. The European a bit closer, the GFS a little bit further out, but still those impacts overall pretty much the same. And even into Thursday evening, we are still talking about this right in the neighborhood. So we continue with that west and southwesterly wind. And anytime you have that onshore flow, especially up into Tampa Bay, along the coastline, we are going to see major coastal flooding in these areas. And even if you're away from the coastline, remember all the heavy rain that will be falling with this. 5 to 10 up to 15 inches of rain in some spots. And if this continues to work its way very slowly, which some models indicate this gets to our north end and kind of stalls out for a little bit, that would just continue to pile on those rainfall amounts. So over the next 7 days, this is what we are looking at this point as far as rainfall is concerned. There's that 8 to 10 inches of rain, and if that track moves a little bit closer to us, you can see we get into even more of that heavy rain along the coastline. As far as the probability of seeing those hurricane force winds, you can see we continue to see those that percentage, that chance right along the coastline of seeing hurricane force winds continues to increase as we go through the next several days. And really at this point, it's all about making sure that you are done with those plans and you're basically set at this point. Keep it tuned right here, and we'll keep you updated right here on MyFoxHurricane.com.